All right, kids. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 of the good book, it reads, "Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord." So passages like this one, and there are more where that came from, seem to work best in America when you ignore the scriptures that come before it and after it, as well as applying it liberally to boyfriends and girlfriends, friendships, co-ed co-workers, along with brothers and sisters, and so on. Generally speaking, in a patriarchal society with Christian under and overtones, women are supposed to submit to men. And if that's the case, it should make you wonder who men are supposed to submit to. In context, it's the Lord, a higher power, the man upstairs. I guess it depends on the God you believe in.
Men will submit to another man, especially if that man has power over them or any level of superiority. So a lot of these dudes out here need to stop talking all this alpha male shit and all this testosterone bullshit when a lot of you submit to another man on a daily fucking basis. And Trump is a perfect example of it.
Let's look at how and why the type of dudes who were supposedly untrusting a few years ago due to deep state overreach, didn't want to wear masks or carry papers, are fiscally conservative and ready to ensure that a free people can defend themselves from a tyrannical government that they want to be small, are responding right now to this big tyrannical government. I plan on using the terms submission, surrender, and bootlicking interchangeably for those who bow down and kiss the current administration's or any regime's ring, if you know what I mean. However, to them, they're not sucking Trump's dick. It's their dick. They're sucking their own dick.
First of all, when these people come out and go, Tim's a bootlicker for defending us, I'm like, no, you misunderstand. It's my boots. It's mine. I voted for them. I'm wearing the boot. I'm stomping on the ground. I ain't licking anybody. I'm clapping for these people that I said, please go out and enforce the law. And anybody else who's cheering for it, who voted for it too, we're all wearing the boots. You're the one crying.
Let me get this straight. If Tim Pool voted for them, how is it his boot? Also, if he is clapping for these people, his words, not mine, how is he wearing their boots? Are they wearing them at the same time? Neither him or the people cheering for federal agents are enforcing the law themselves. For somebody who loves to talk about civil war, Tim Pool sure did get a non-proven fight taken to him. All the while, he is in a podcast studio. And this one looks different because rumor has it, he's in Florida. I bring this up after Poole claimed on Twitter that there was a drive-by on his property. He tweeted that there were no injuries, which is good. He later said that his first thought was someone was trying to scare him, quote, "But we have a security gate and armed guards, and it's possible this deterred something more serious." Honestly, I would be more concerned if he had a wife and kids, but he doesn't. Why is that?
But I do think it's crazy that I'm about to be 34 and I have no family. Because my dad had 2 kids by the time he was 27.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you know what the problem is, though? It's definitely not me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's everybody else.
Yeah.
It is believed that Tim Pool and his pod are located in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. According to The Independent, the Harpers Ferry Police Department said the incident did not occur within their agency's boundaries. A spokesperson for the West Virginia State Police said they have no information about the incident, and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office could not be reached for comment outside of business hours. Look, Tim Pool is a fascist who ain't stomping on shit. His boots are made for walking away. Whether or not his has straps, all that talk and his security team is reviewing tapes in order to send to the police. And by the way, there's nothing stopping him from signing up to become ICE or Border Patrol himself, but when their boots are on his neck, it'll make things easier for him to lick them. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. Yeah, running to a different state costs money. Moving on.
The fact that you can sit up here and work on this show and claim
you talking tough ain't gonna work with me, buddy. Give me the law.
What are you going to do? Shoot him 10 times? Shoot him in the back of the head?
This whole
what are you
time,
gonna do?
you're cosplaying as a tough guy while you bootleg for 6 grown-ass men who jumped on a nurse and shot him dead. This is not the tough position. You are defending, being a bootlicker is not a tough position, my dude.
That's Brandon Tatum, former Officer Tatum, making threats on Pierce Morgan in the name of Jesus. The laying of hands is a thing. Anyways, Officer Tatum has always been a comply or die kind of guy. It's how he got his start as a conservative influencer. He's banking on a militarized police state. Now, I'm serious. He sells Stand With ICE t-shirts. So him saying the way to avoid all of this and not get shot like Alex Preddy is let ICE and Border Patrol do their jobs unimpeded is literally on brand. I started thinking about the submission topic overall when I recently saw clips from years ago of Officer Tatum saying that he wouldn't want to cry in front of his wife, even if his kids died, or even at his father's funeral, because to him, the dropping of tears from one's eyes as a natural response to physical pain, or in this case, an emotional state, douses warm, salty water on the face of strength, along with him being a foundation and a rock. And then this happened. Now, Officer Tatum did not appreciate when the likes of ABBA and Preach clowned him for crying. There's nuance to that, and I can't or won't speak for them, but I will say, black men, conservative or otherwise, are allowed to express themselves and feel stuff. Black boys too. Like 8-year-old me the first time I saw and heard Sade. And it's also okay to change your mind. It's just that the catalyst for Officer Tatum doing so was a white man, his friend, dying tragically live on TV. A white man that has said some messed up stuff about black people and women. Yet, Officer Tatum won't surrender his emotions in front of his wife by choice. He'll admit that he will cry on his own, however, and this is for all the traditional women must submit men who are in romantic relationships with women. If you can't shed a tear in front of your girl for fear of losing her respect, she isn't submitting to you, you're submitted to her. Furthermore, and this is for Officer Tatum specifically, if you complain about black violence and hood culture, then what is this?
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Is that black on black crime? Is that black on black crime?
You's a bitch. I told you. Everybody on your live stream knows you's a bitch, and when I see you, I'm whooping your ass. Everybody on your live stream. I like it. You want to be hood, nigga? You want to be hood? You on the phone talking shit to me?
Don't even get me started on the idea that women are more emotional than men. In order to hold that point of view, you see anger and rage as righteousness versus what they really are. And again, natural human feelings. I would know when studying for this episode, I was reminded that Sade was married to and divorced from a white man. Do black conservatives think she's fine? I'm not asking because they seem to like white women, but I'm distracted by her sweetest taboo. Where was I going with this? Crying?
So I was not invited to any of the Turning Point Faith events, which I'm one of the biggest Christians in the movement right now that stand up for Jesus Christ on every platform that I've ever been on. But I didn't cry and say, I said, you know what? I understand, man. God gave me a platform that's bigger than any platform you can give me anyway.
Is Officer Tatum sold out for Jesus? I question if he's been bought. Homie's group got spit on by a little girl while they were in Israel, and he said, well, it was only once. A few months back, former U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz told a weird story about his first AIPAC reception. You get there and you wear this name badge, and I remember there's a QR code on it, and what we're supposed to do is go talk to donors. Then, if they liked you, they scan your QR code to make a donation, like on the spot. And this was Tatum's get back. According to AIPAC, the accusation about our fundraisers is of course a lie. Barcodes are on name badges for security reasons, not fundraising, and are scanned for that purpose. According to AIPAC, for real, Tate either thinks we're stupid or he doesn't know that he is. Barcodes on name badges in a closed event for US Congresspeople is for security reasons, maybe to shield their daughters from Gaetz, but come on. If this is Officer Tatum's way of saying that Matt Gaetz, who actually wants a little girl to spit on him and who Tatum once called a superstar, made the story up, it comes off as, how would you know? I was there and you weren't. Tatum submits to Netanyahu, the red hats, and the brown shirts is the point. Yet, the party that regularly votes for and supports politicians and pundits who are Pedros without the R, says that ICE is protecting drug dealers and murderers and AIPAC, with the R. The thing about that is,
the Long Beach Post says Isaiah Hodgson died of an apparent overdose. Hodgson was reportedly involved in this raid in Pico Rivera back in June, where a U.S. citizen was detained. Weeks later, Hodgson himself was arrested for that alleged assault on police officers. He was awaiting trial for that when he died in August. Details on the circumstances surrounding the overdose have not been released.
Hodgson was also charged with assaulting a Long Beach police officer and resisting arrest for an incident in a parking lot. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office claimed Hodgson was off duty, intoxicated, and armed with a handgun while at a restaurant. He allegedly entered the women's restroom and approached a woman who saw his handgun. Long Beach police officers responded to the scene and tried to detain Hodgson, but he refused to cooperate. As Hodgson resisted arrest, he allegedly became agitated and physical with the officers, injuring one of them, prosecutors said. Also, a Minnesota state trooper found U.S. Customs and Border Patrol employee 31-year-old Alfredo Mancilas Jr. of Corpus Christi, Texas, passed out at the wheel. Police say Mancilas failed a field sobriety test and refused to take a breathalyzer test, after which he was arrested and booked for jail. He had been charged with third-degree and fourth-degree driving while impaired. That newspaper asked the Department of Homeland Security what role Mancilas serves in Border Patrol, but the department declined to answer. And this Florida man identified himself as ICE. 19-year-old Joseph Patrick Cerner was arrested after two children were approached by a black pickup truck while walking home from school in broad daylight, I might add. Whoever was in the truck allegedly offered those children video games and candy if they would just get in the truck with them. The children ran away, told their parents, who called the police, and were later able to identify Cerner and a black GMC Sierra. Could that have been the same pickup truck that a Lee County deputy saw when its driver was swerving erratically and abruptly slamming on his brakes before making a U-turn? I think it was. After the officer initiated a traffic stop for a broken taillight around 2:45 in the morning, upon inspection of the vehicle, deputies found an open Twisted Tea, 3 empty Michelob Ultras, a small amount of marijuana, and an unmarked bottle containing Adderall pills. It was Cerner. It was also discovered that Cerner had a suspended license from a previous DUI case. He was arrested and charged with DUI, marijuana possession, resisting an officer, and 3 counts of intimidation. He wanted to call his boss and his mama. We would know more about these federal agents if we knew their identities and if they didn't wear masks. Even with that,
I just want to point out that now some of these officers, law enforcement, ICE, also have their faces covered. And that's for a different reason, so that, go ahead, explain.
So they don't get doxxed, which of course we've seen numerous times.
Activist groups, civilians, citizens shouldn't get doxxed. Conservatives, Republicans, and the right have submitted to the worst people that we all went to high school with. That's who make up ICE and Border Patrol. Oh, and don't get me wrong. The highest ranking Democrats have too. Don't be fooled by calls for reform, training, and body-worn cameras. Speaking of, we're not that far removed from Dems dumping Bernie Sanders. Twice. Once for Hillary Clinton, another time for Joe Biden. And then the party just let it happen, before denying Joe's fitness when and where convenient. So many were surrendered to him. And then Kamala Harris got appointed to become the presidential nominee through voter delegate roll call without a primary. With that in mind, submitting clearly isn't a partisan issue or about one gender in particular.
I know I'm supposed to feel sorry for Alex Preddy, but I don't. This quite simply is a joke. All right. First of all, just carrying a gun illegally is not likely to provoke a violent response. In this case, in my legal opinion, should never have been brought.
Megyn Kelly asked, after Alex Preddy was killed, do you know why I wasn't shot by ICE this weekend? Because I kept my ass inside and out of their operations. She has resigned some of her own freedoms and civil liberties in order to let federal agents run rampant. Again, submission to a religion or a regime isn't about a party. Although one administration specializes in it.
You feel as a victim. You feel a victim. to people who are going to be out there, because you know some are going to judge and say you were 15, you were 16, you were 17, you were a willing participant. Again, the legal age of consent in California is 18, so there's no consenting for a 14 or even a 17-year-old in these circumstances.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls.
She makes seeing double standards so simple. Megyn Kelly has a teenage daughter, and if I would have just let that clip play, she would go on to elaborate and say that she doesn't trust Pam Bondi and called Epstein a disgusting pedo. She's not trying to excuse him, according to her, a woman who doesn't give a shit about Trump getting handsy with some woman 20 years ago. Both gender roles are, at their core, about submissiveness. Women submitting to men and men submitting to a handful of men perched atop a socioeconomic period. This same pattern also underpins other dominance-based hierarchies. Most of us, really, are nudged to accept our own submission to the few in exchange for the illusion of power over those deemed other and lesser. Yes, the side of the aisle that calls the president daddy is more submissive than the other. And my position could have easily been more about politicians, but it's their pundits carrying the manosphere. It's men like this that want women to submit not out of respect for scripture, but out of reverence for them. They may be attracted to the ladies, doesn't mean they like them. Going back to the beginning of this thing, if you base your beliefs about submitting on the Bible, you're going to have to do better.
Hey, you know what's not in the Bible? Wives, submit to your husbands, or at least not the way that it's typically used. So if you look to Ephesians 5:22, you will see wives be subject to or submit to your husbands. But here's the thing, that word that's translated to submit or be subject to isn't in the original Greek manuscripts. It's not in the oldest manuscripts. And so what translators have done is they have taken that word from the verse right before this and applied it to this verse.
Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. The rest of this chapter deals more with men than women. Christ sacrificed himself for his bride, the church. If that's not where you are, then submission isn't for you. At least not the way you want it to be. This is no ordinary love. By the way, I wouldn't have submitted to Sade. We're gonna be all right.